Hello COMP1531, this is Maddie, and today I'm going to walk you through the setup instructions for how you can work on your own computer if you're using Windows. So I'm going to switch over to my desktop, and I'm going to, first thing, start installing Windows Subsystem for Linux. So the way that you can do this is if you type in terminal, and then you choose to run as administrator, and then I'm going to choose yes, and it'll open. And now if I go here and I choose from this drop down, choose Windows PowerShell, and you can see it says Administrator Windows PowerShell. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Why isn't, please, I am begging you. There we go, it does let me zoom in, nice. Cool. So I'm gonna zoom in, and you can see I've just got this prompt here. I'm going to give it the command wsl:/install, and I'll hit enter, and we'll give it a hot minute, and it's going to install Windows Subsystem for Linux. And in fact, in this case, I've already got Ubuntu installed, and it's saying installing this may take a few minutes. In your case, what might end up happening is it'll have to download some stuff and install some Windows updates, and then it'll make you restart your computer. And then when you sign in again, that's when it's going to go and come up with this thing saying installing this may take a few minutes. And you'll need to be careful if you're one of those people like me that has a bajillion startup apps. You need to be careful you don't close your terminal, because if you close your terminal while it's saying installing this may take a few minutes, it's going to break your installation and you're going to have to delete it and start again. So in this case, now that it's finished installing, it's asking me to enter a new Unix username. So I'm going to just type in my first name, all lowercase letters, and you should probably do the same. In my case, it will be Maddie, so M-A-D-D-Y. And we'll give it a hot minute to do some stuff, and then it's going to ask us for a password. Eventually. There we go, new password. So I'm going to type in a password, and you can hear me typing, but it hasn't actually appeared on the screen. And now I'll type it again, and it didn't actually appear on the screen a second time either. And essentially, this is the security thing, is that it's not showing you your password. So you just kind of need to type with a bit of confidence. And now it's saying, welcome to Ubuntu. So yeah, we've installed things correctly. And now you can see if I were to type in the command uname, yep, we're running Linux. So now that we're here, let's talk a little bit about what WSL actually is. It's essentially just a little virtual machine or pretend computer running inside of Windows, where it lets you go and access a Linux system, kind of like the CSE systems, except it's going and also letting you kind of like run it on your own computer, which means you don't need internet to do most of the things you need to do, and it means that it's going to be much, much faster than trying to control a computer remotely over the internet. So now that we've set up Windows Subsystem for Linux, our next step is we want to make sure we have Git. So I'm going to type in the command Git, and you can see it's printed out an absolute ton of stuff. That means we have Git, which is great. It's installed by default. Our next step is we want to install the Node version manager, which is the way that you install Node.js. So in my case, I'm going to type in nvm, and I've got it bookmarked. But since you won't have it bookmarked, what you'll want to do instead is you can go to github.com/nvm-sh/nvm, and then the section you want in particular is this installing and updating section. I'm going to copy that top command, and I'm just going to Control-Shift-V to paste it and then hit enter. I'll give it a second, and it's going to go and download all the things it needs to download. And then it says this appending nvm source string to my bash rc. So what this means is that we need to close and reopen our terminal. So I'm going to hit close, and now I'm going to go, and I'm going to go terminal again, and I'm going to hit this drop down arrow here, and I'm going to choose Ubuntu. And now you can see I'm back in here, and if I type in nvm, it prints out a bunch of stuff again. So now I'm going to go and I'm going to nvm install, and the version we want is specifically version 20. So I'm going to type in nvm install 20, and we'll give that a second to download Node.js. And once that has finished, ta-da! Now we can go and we can type in Node, and it says welcome to Node.js version 20. So that means that we have succeeded. So now we have Node.js. What's our next step? Our next step is we want to make ourselves an SSH key. So you can go and you can SSH-keygen, and then a -t for type, and an ED25519. And I'm going to generate this SSH key. So you can see, where does it want to save it? It wants to save it to this location, that's fine. And the passphrase, I don't want a passphrase, so I'll just hit enter, and then same password, just hit enter, and there we go. now we have a new SSH key. And this is essentially an alternative to a password, so we don't need to type our password every single time we want to do anything on GitLab. So I'm going to go cat and then home/.ssh/id_e, and I'm going to hit tab, and then I'm going to go .pub. You need to include this .pub on the end. If you don't include that, it's the equivalent of sending your password to someone, which you don't want to do. So you can see, now I have Maddie@Kronk, and I'll go and I'll copy that, and I'm going to go over to GitLab. And now that I'm on GitLab, my next step is I want to click on my profile picture here, and I want to choose Preferences. And from there I can choose SSH keys in the left-hand menu, and I want to go and hit Add New Key. So I'll paste that there, and now, yep, Maddie@Kronk, that seems reasonable. Expiration date, I could let it expire, but I'm not going to let it because that sounds kind of painful having to add it again. So I'm just going to hit Add Key, and there we go. Now I have this SSH key. That means you should be able to interact with GitLab without ever needing to type your password. And you can see I've actually gotten an email saying, hey, you've got a new SSH key. And that's probably useful knowledge just in case someone else was adding it. The next thing you can do is you want to have a quick way to access your CSE systems, the CSE systems. So usually I would have an alias that says CSE, and I would type it, and it would take me into the UNSW systems. But ordinarily what you would do is you would go SSH and then your ZID, so in my case that's this, and then at login.cse.unsw.edu.au. And when I hit enter, you can see it's my first time connecting, so that means this is normal, so I'll type in yes. And now it wants me to type in my password, and I can type in my password, and as per usual, it doesn't display on the screen. And then now I'm inside the CSE systems. The problem is that typing my password is kind of painful. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Control-D to log out of CSE systems, and I'll clear my screen, and we'll go up here and we'll change this SSH command so that instead it says SSH copy ID. And this is going to copy my SSH key across. So I'll type in my password one last time. And now it says number of keys added 1. And now if I go and I try and SSH in there again, you'll notice I don't have to type a password anymore. So what I've done is I've copied my SSH key across to the CSE systems, so now I can use that as an alternative to a password, which is really, really useful if you want to get in and out of them quickly. So now that we've done that, that is pretty much all we need to do. The one remaining thing is you want to go to your VS Code, which you've hopefully already got installed, and if you haven't already, for this course, you don't want to use SSHFS. So what I'll do is I'm going to go Control-Shift-X to pull up extensions, and I'm going to search for WSL, because you want to install the extension that tells VS Code how to connect to Windows Subsystem for Linux. So I can click on this top result, and I've already got it installed. But what that means you can now do is you can hit this down in the bottom left, you've got this 2 arrows thing, and I'm going to choose Connect to WSL. And we'll give that a second, and what it's going to need to do is it's going to need to start the Linux subsystem, and then it's going to need to install the VS Code server. You can see it's downloading the server. And what that will let us... Oh, you can't see because my picture's in the way. There we go. Now you can see it's installing the Linux server. And what that's going to let it do is that's going to let VS Code kind of connect to Windows Subsystem for Linux so that we can do all of our code in the regular Windows version of VS Code, which is really, really, really nice. And from there, that's pretty much all you really need to do in order to get your code working inside get your code working on Windows. You can see, if I type in uname one more time, yep, Linux. I am inside WSL. So yeah, this is how you can get set up on a Windows computer to do work on the CSE system. Just one more thing we'll do to make sure that it works is I'm going to go and I'm going to git clone something. So in this case, I might choose my COMP1531 playground, which is just where I put any random pieces of code that I write in help sessions or anything. So I'm going to copy that clone with SSH URL, because we've set up an SSH key, we can use those now. And I'm going to type git clone, and then I'm going to paste it, and you'll see first time connecting, so that's normal. Type in yes, and there it is. If I ls, you can see I've got a COMP1531 playground now. Excellent. And that is pretty much all we need to do. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I hope that this was helpful. You can always post on the forum if you run into any issues. But yeah, I am very glad I was able to help you out, and happy programming. See ya!